Attaining an iconic status in the world of watchmaking is not an easy feat. This is what Bulgari has achieved in a record span of just 10 years. They did it with the bold contemporary Italian design and sophisticated Swiss mechanics of the Octo Finissimo. Of course, the Octo Finissimo is above anything else, a statement of style. And this was achieved as the brand crowned itself as the master of ultra-thin through what they call l'estetica meccanica. One aspect, which is not often discussed, is how the use of material has been crucial to the evolution of this collection. Is it a matter of color or comfort or tactile experience for this ergonomic watch? We're meeting with Fabrizio Buonamassa, director of Bulgari's Watch Design Center, who will tell us more. Hi Fabrizio, thanks for having us here. It's great to be back and to be talking about one of my favorite watches of the last 10 years, the Octo Finissimo. A superb monochrome watch, really love it. Can you tell us more about what was the very idea behind the Octo Finissimo?
The idea was to show our savoir-faire in a different way. And that's why we started to talk about ultra-thin watches, because we discovered in our facilities in Les Sentiers, in Saint-Léger, this amazing savoir-faire about ultra-thin watches. And you say, but nobody cares about ultra-thin watches. It's several decades that nobody put the attention on this kind of watches. They're very difficult to produce, but give you some different point of view and different way to wear the watch. Very discreet, but it was a very classic approach. So the idea was, why not? We can try to say a different story, to see the ultra-thin watches in a more modern way. You know, Bulgari, part of our DNA is to see things out of the box. And the idea to mix and match different materials, a very contemporary design like the Octo was, even before the ultra-thin watches, with an integrated bracelet, play with different materials, with the idea to play with different movements, to wear the ultra-thin watches in a more modern way, more sport chic approach, more Italian way was the idea. But at the beginning was just a big, let me say, cloud in our mind. So we find something, you can see a light, but you have to find a way to achieve this objective. And it was just a discussion. It was not planned from the beginning. The idea was to try to have something different with the ultra-thin watches. We didn't follow any trends or any benchmark or other brands. The idea was to have the watch that we would love to wear, with an amazing savoir-faire and with a very unique design. And this was the beginning of the Octo Finissimo. And
so you were actually ahead of how popular these kind of watches ultimately became. That was very interesting, actually, and to hear that it already started that early in terms of design and developing the ideas, especially with the incredible popularity of this segment in the watch industry in the last many years. One of the things that really stands out is, of course, you know, how the watch looks, the tactile feeling, but the use of materials is certainly something very special for the Octo Finissimo. Can you tell us more about this?
It's a part of our DNA. Honestly, the Octo Finissimo was born with a leather strap. The biggest step was the metal bracelet. And with the metal bracelet, we start to play with materials. The first Octo Finissimo was, let me say, a common double finishing gold watch. It was a rose gold tourbillon, manual winding tourbillon that we presented in Basel Fair, with a black alligator strap. And the second one was the minute repeater. And the minute repeater was the first step because it was the first Octo Finissimo in titanium. I still remember the discussion, maybe I already said several times, but the meeting was which kind of material we're going to use for the Octo Finissimo with the minute repeater movement. Why don't we use titanium, and why don't we use the gray face of the titanium? Mm-hmm. Warm gray, with this minute repeater movement, with this very contemporary design case, and even the dial with the 12 and all the indexes, that is the common and the very well-known indexes from the Bulgari heritage, from the Bulgari dial that everybody knows from the Bulgari of the 70s, was not with the applied indexes, but was used the same shape of the indexes to open the dial, to have more emphasis on the sound, about the sound. So this was the big step, honestly. From aesthetic point of view, the minute repeater was the first Octo Finissimo like you know today. And we start to play with material. Immediately after the minute repeater in titanium in Basel Fair, the automatic one was already planned. And I'm honest, we changed the design of the automatic one after the minute repeater. At the beginning, the automatic one was planned in titanium with the same dial of the minute repeater.
Open works.
With the open indexes. And we introduced the titanium bracelet. That was another big challenge. After the titanium, we decided to play with the steel. And after the steel, it was already planned to play with the full black watches, and the idea was to make the ceramic Finissimo.
That one, yes.
Another crazy development, more or less 3 years of development. And after, on parallel, we developed the carbon for the minute repeater. Mm-hmm. It was the first minute repeater with the full bracelet in carbon. The case was in carbon. The dial was in carbon, if I remember well. The quality of the sound was totally different. So it's a part of our DNA to play with material. But the things that I love, honestly, is to play with the common material in a conventional way. And maybe this is the secret, small secret of the success of the Octo Finissimo. Sometimes something that everybody knows, because everybody knows the ultra thin watches, but for the first time was see from a totally different point of view.
For the Geneva Watch Days, you're coming with a carbon and gold version. Please tell us more about it.
The idea was to make an evolution of our iconic plastic watch that was in the 80s. Today it's not anymore a plastic watch. After the service watch, the city watch, the carbon gold on Bulgari, finally we have the most incredible carbon gold watch. And it's a full carbon Octo Finissimo with a carbon bracelet, with a carbon dial, with the gold bridges on the movement, with the gold crown, with the gold plaquette on the case. When we launched the minute repeater in carbon, everybody said, I would love to have this watch with the automatic movement. It was a request, and it was something that we have in mind from the beginning of the Octo Finissimo saga. It was not the right moment. It was very important for us to establish the titanium, and after the Octo Finissimo S, that was another great step. So it's a totally different carbon. If you compare with the minute repeater, is the core of the case is a titanium case, because it's not possible to screw in a crown, directly on the carbon. The bracelet is in carbon. The watch is slightly thicker because we want to be safe. We don't need to have another record. The idea is to have a watch that you can wear every day. We change some details on the buckle. We change some details on the final links of the bracelet. We change the thickness of the bracelet. We have a carbon dial. We have gold indexes with gold finishing indexes and hands. The crown is in gold, and the watch is absolutely super lightweight. Mm-hmm. And is the most incredible evolution of our carbon gold watch.
And then you completely shocked me with what I saw that you're coming for only watch.
Yeah.
And that one really blew me away.
Yeah, it was a crazy idea, honestly. We started more than 5 years ago. Again, we love to play with the common material in a conventional way, and I love to play with contrast. So, in many references, the Octo Finissimo was an ultra-light watch, an ultra-thin watch. The idea was to play with one of the most heavy materials that talk about our Roman heritage. So in a certain moment, honestly, I don't remember why I say, I don't remember to Guido, to Jean-Christophe, say, bah, I would love to have a Finissimo in marble. Because you cannot imagine to have an ultra-thin watch, very light watch with this kind of heavy material that you can see through this material all our DNA, because we come from Rome. And the most important monuments and art piece in Rome are made with marble and travertine. And say, well, come on, it's not possible to do, it's gonna be crazy, it's gonna be... But we start to discuss about that, and at the end we found a crazy supplier able to produce it. At the beginning the idea was to make several pieces, but when we start to go inside the project, we discovered immediately it was impossible to make more than 3, 4, 5 pieces. It's a metal case with 0.2 millimeter of marble that cover all the surfaces.
0.2 millimeter.
0.2 millimeter made by hand. It's like a mosaic at the end. You cannot see because they are amazing, and they use the same part of the marble. They cut the same part of the marble with all these small elements, and they put inside the case, on top of the case, and on top of the bracelet. Mm-hmm. Each part of this watch, each facet of this case and the bracelet and the dial was a challenge. And the watch is absolutely amazing. Amazing watch in terms of style, in terms of aesthetics. It's the most incredible Octo Finissimo that we ever made. Unfortunately, we can make just one because it's so difficult to make.
Fabrizio, thanks for having us and to discuss, again, one of my favorite monochrome watches. Thanks.
Always a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Merci.